Today's scripture comes out of Isaiah, the 40th chapter, and I'll be reading the 25th through the 31st verse. And it says, "To whom then will you compare me? Who is my equal, says the Holy One. Lift up your eyes on high and see who created these. Who brings out their hosts and numbers them, calling them by name, because he is great in strength, mighty in power. Not one is missing. Why do you say, O Jacob, and speak, O Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord, and my right is disregarded by my God? Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Even youths will faint and be weary, and the young will fall exhausted. But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." Many years ago when I was a new pastor, I went to New Jersey to preach. I don't really remember what the occasion was, but it was an afternoon service and I was the guest preacher for the day. And after service, while they were serving refreshments, an older lady came up to me and said, "I want to give you something." And she gave me this little box, and inside this box was this small triangular keychain, and it was inscribed with those words, and I'll say it like the King James: "They that wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." For years, I kept that little keychain, mostly because I thought it was so nice that someone who didn't even know me thought enough that they wanted to give me a gift for no reason. And it was actually really pretty. Back then, about 25, 30 years ago, I thought I could do anything. I had my faith. I had a reasonable amount of intelligence. I was healthy. I had a really full head of hair back then. Me and God were going to do some things. I was going to be the pastor of a large church that took in enough money that I wouldn't have to work another job. I had charisma. I was reasonably attractive, and I could preach okay. Yep, me and God were going to get things done just the way I envisioned it. It was going to be beautiful. But the older I got, and the more I tried to work, lead a church, and go to school all at the same time, those words took on a more profound meaning. I still had faith in God. I tried to be faithful. But I have to be honest, there were moments when I said, "God, where are you? How come things are working out so well for other people and they're not working out that well for me? If you really called me to do this work, why didn't you go along with my plan? Why isn't it working the way I saw it? Why did I have to work so hard? Why, on another level, why did I have to have multiple sclerosis? I could have done so much more without it." Yes, I've had those moments, and I'm willing to bet I'm not the only one who's listening to this who has felt this way. But I remember the words of our text for today. Over the years, that keychain took on a whole new meaning as the years progressed. It reminds me that God has been with me the whole time and was going to be there no matter what turns I took in life. Even in the bad and difficult times, as well in the nice and easy times. In the times when I felt proud that I had done something good, and even in the times when I was second guessing my choices and my activities. That text meant so much to me. And that's the lesson the audience of our text had to learn, the original audience. The text for today comes out of the book of Isaiah. And to be clear, it comes from the second of three distinct divisions of that book. The first, chapters 1 through 39, covers the work of a Judean prophet. The second section, which is where our text comes from, chapters 40 through 55, derives from the exile's experience in Babylon. And the final section, chapters 56 through 66, deal with the concern of the workings of Jerusalem in the time of the leadership of Darius. The authors of these sections are unknown, but the second section, the author is referred to as Deutero-Isaiah. It's really second Isaiah. But Deutero-Isaiah, the intended audience for this text was Babylonian-based Jews that descended from Jerusalem's royal family and their entourage. Remember, when the Babylonians took people into captivity, they targeted the elite. They took the leadership, the royalty in their entourage. They wanted the cream of the crop. So that's what was taken into captivity. The writing was during the time of Cyrus, during his reign in the 6th century BCE. During that time, Cyrus was trying to get control of Babylon, which Deutero-Isaiah thought would be beneficial for the Jews. They would be able to maintain their monotheistic faith in Yahweh, and they would be better positioned politically and economically. But the people really still wanted to return to Jerusalem, not settle in Babylon. They wanted a new Judean nation, and they wanted to be back in Jerusalem. These people had been through some very troubling and confusing times when it came to God. Imagine being taught historically that you were a member of God's chosen people, only to be exiled from your homeland and taken to a foreign land with foreign customs. At the time of our text, Deutero-Isaiah was addressing the grandchildren of the people who were originally exiled into Babylonian captivity. And for these people, every day was another day of disappointment and questioning the supposed covenant between God and the people of Israel. That's the backstory of our text for today. Earlier generations of the Jews had their ears and their eyes shut to the word of God or God's presence. They lived among people who worshiped idols and other gods. Some or one of their gods was said to have come from the stars. But Deutero-Isaiah wrote to these dispirited Jews, "To whom then will you compare me? Who is my equal, says the Holy One? Lift up your eyes on high and see who created these, who brings out their hosts and numbers them, calling them by name, because he is great in strength, mighty in power. Not one is missing." What that means is that there's no other God that compares to Israel's Yahweh. That even the stars that were worshiped as God in Babylon, even they were created by Israel's one God. So why think that because you're in an undesirable situation, that God is not there or does not care? Deutero-Isaiah provides a powerful response to the Jews in Babylon, and by extension, to those of us who may be experiencing disappointment, hopelessness, or feeling spiritually abandoned or disconnected. He says, "Have you not known and have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Even youths will faint and be weary, and the young will fall exhausted. But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." You know, it may seem like change is a long time coming for those of us who are trying and waiting and hoping. We tried and tried, but we don't see any evidence of a better day. Sometimes the cycle of life leads us to a place of disappointment, but we must remember that that does not have to be our final destination. Someone once said, we must accept limited disappointment, but never lose immeasurable hope. Disappointment brings much of our pains and frustrations into our life. In life, no matter how good we are, no matter how positive we are, no matter how much we pray, life still unfolds in its own time and in its own way, not according to our timeline or our direction. And many times, that's a very good thing. Think about some things in your past that if you had driven that direction of how your life was going to go, maybe it wouldn't have been a good thing. I can think of a few. But Paulo Coelho said, when you find your path, you must not be afraid. You need to have sufficient courage to make mistakes, disappointment, defeat, and despair. Those are the tools that God uses to show us the way. How can we manage our disappointment as we allow God, the universe? I thought about that the other day. We talk about God and then we say the universe when we don't want to say the word God. Well, the universe is really too small because God is something that's outside of any words that we can come up with. That's just a little sidebar. But how can we manage our disappointment as we allow God or the universe to guide our path? Well, I found some suggestions in Psychology Today about looking at the what, who, when, and how of disappointment. Number one, what? We believe that only a certain thing can make us happy. We let media images or something on social media identify things that we think will make us happy. And then we set our minds to think that we'll only be happy if we get these things. But often, even if we get those things, our satisfaction with them is short-lived, doesn't last long. It's better to learn to live fully in the present moment with the present circumstances. What do you want to feel right now? No matter what your circumstance is, what do you want to feel in this moment? Put yourself in that feeling and stay there. Secondly, who? We believe sometimes that only a certain person will be able to fulfill our desires. Some of us invest much of our life force trying to find the one. How much time have we invested into relationships that ultimately were a wrong fit for us? Truthfully, it's our image we project on people, not the reality of the us that keeps us in a toxic situation. The secret is not to get so too entangled with one person. The secret is to keep your mind focused on yourself. Focus on how you want to feel in a relationship. Focus on the truth of how you do feel in the relationship. And if you're not in a relationship, focus on you. Love yourself. Number 3 is when. We set a time limit for how long it will take to get what we want. Too often we focus our success on what our peers are doing. Psychology Today calls it social comparison. But comparison will often lead to disappointment. Again, the answer is you. What can you do in the process to make things enjoyable for yourself? What can you do while you're waiting for a situation to change? Can you spend some time sharpening your skills? Can you learn something new? You can always choose to grow. Or you can stay in the present and enjoy the ride and stop looking at the calendar. Number 4, how? We have fixed ideas about how it's all going to come together. It's possible to keep your eye on what you really want, but it's possible to do that while staying open to other ways of making it happen. I remember when I first came to Atlanta to attend ITC, some of my peers suggested I should quit my full-time job and just focus on school, that was the only way I was going to be able to finish and be successful. Fortunately, though, the pastor of the church I attended gave me some great advice. He said, how will you do in school when you're worrying about how to pay your rent and to keep the lights on, and let alone eat? And then my other professor, Parker, said to our class, if you plan to be prophetic and want to do something that really makes a difference, you cannot depend on your church or your organization to support your lifestyle. because then you'll have to make choices to maintain your lifestyle. So I ended up going to school at night and I worked all day. And I ended up graduating with honors with only one extra semester than if I had gone full time with no job. See, there are many ways to make things happen if you really believe in it, if you really believe in yourself, and if you really want to make it happen. We're surrounded by blessings and opportunities. There are more numerous opportunities than there are disappointments in our lives. Disappointment is one of the many emotions we're all going to feel it at times, but we can't let it consume us because something else is always on the way. Put it this way, we can't let the train of disappointment just break down on the track because there's another train of possibility pulling into the station. I like the Rumi quote that says, "What you are seeking is seeking you." There's so much more to life. For example, I thought I was disappointed to get multiple sclerosis diagnosis, but I was able to pivot and kind of get a side gig with the pharmaceutical company where I was able to encourage newly diagnosed people to have hope. And I've been able to encourage other people who are learning to live with chronic illnesses to have hope. And that was a gift that came out of that diagnosis. But I had to be able to allow myself to look around and see what's possible in this situation. Like the Jews that Isaiah was addressing, we need to remember that we have a God who created the whole thing. It's important for us to remember because there are times when life just is not easy, and there are going to be times that things just don't go our way. There are going to be times when we feel like, I just can't get up and do it again. I've tried too hard for too long, and it's not working out. In this time of COVID, some of us are just tired. We're tired of being in the house. We're tired of the people around us as much as we might love them. We're tired of trying to decide what to eat. Am I the only one that spends time trying to figure out the next thing to eat? We're tired of being alone. I watched Good Morning America yesterday, and they did a segment on the pandemic about it being almost a year old. And I thought it was really interesting when I heard a woman say, for younger people, a year is a year. For older people, a year is a lot. To put it in a different perspective for me. But I hear Isaiah say to the ancient Jews in Babylon and say to each of us, God gives power to the faint and strengthens the powerless. And even youth will faint and be weary, and even the young will fall exhausted. But those who wait for the Lord will renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. When the text says wait on the Lord, it doesn't mean we become complacent. It doesn't mean we don't try to achieve our goals or we don't try to make a difference. It doesn't mean we don't try to keep working for justice and love in this world. It means that while we work, we remember God is working with us and for us. It means we live with confidence and faith in the sense of committing ourselves to God in hopeful expectation. I'm glad today because, like some of you, I've had my weary days. I've had some disappointments, but greater than my troubles is the God that I have committed myself to. And I have a hopeful expectation that come what may, no matter what comes my way, I can make the best of it because God is with me. I can sing that old James Cleveland song. I don't feel no ways tired. I've come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me the road would be easy. I don't believe God brought me this far to leave me. Thank you for listening.